Hello guys, and welcome to another video of Tank Assault. And in today's video we're going to be talking about cheap reefs. Not so much cheap, but budget reefs. It's going to be a nice quick video, not too long. I'm not going to drag it out too much, but I just want to talk. I see a lot of questions on a lot of different videos and forums about people asking, can you set up a cheap reef? Is it possible to do it cheaply? And the answer quite simply is yes, in my opinion. Now, as you've probably seen from my tank, I run no reactors. The lights are from China, cheap lights. They grow corals well. My main filtration, main biological filtration is taken out by the rock. With rock, you can, instead of buying live rock, which is quite expensive because you pay for the water weight of the live rock, you can buy dry rock. Works exactly the same way, you just need to leave it to cure for a little bit longer. So the initial setup of a reef tank, yes, you can do it cheap. All you really need, if you really want it to be as budget as possible, is a full spectrum light from China. Like I say, I think I paid about £100 for mine. A tank, obviously, doesn't need to be any specific tank. A heater, live rock, salt water, and something to make water movement. Now what I mean by that is, obviously you need the water to be turning over, you need it to be moving, pushing the water at the live rock or the dry rock to get that filtration going. If the water's stagnant, if the water's not moving, there's no surface tension, then you're not going to be getting the biological filtration. It's not going to go well. You need current in the tank, you need some flow in the tank. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this. Obviously, if you look at my refugium, and we'll take this as an example. Let's say I go and buy just this glass box. I purchase this glass box, I get it second hand, I get it nice and cheap as I did with this one. I put my sand in, or you don't even need substrate, but let's say I put my sand in. I get my rock's in there, my water's in there. How do I make the water move? Now there's a couple of options. You can get your cheap power heads off eBay, from China or Amazon or wherever you shop from. As long as it moves a sufficient amount of water, it's fine. Now I use Jacob wave makers, and I believe for the single one I've got two. I've got the gyro effect one, and then I've got the single power head, and I think I paid about £65 English pounds for the single power head. So it's not as cheap as some of them you see on eBay, but again, that depends on the size of your tank. Now what you may wish to do, and a lot of new people into the hobby do this, is they start out with canister filters. And I see a lot of people say, no, don't use canister filters, trying to put people off using them, recommending sumps. And what sumps do to new people is it scares them, because if you're coming from fresh water and you've never had a sump, and or you're brand new to the hobby and you've never had a sump, it's going to put you off. When I first got into the hobby and I was looking into sumps, I found it a little bit overwhelming. For those of you who don't know, a sump is just a tank underneath your tank, where you house everything you would normally keep inside a canister. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to get to. Now, in my opinion, you can use a canister filter. A lot of people call them nitrate factories, which I don't find true at all. In my opinion, if it's catching the particles, it's catching the fish waste and the detritus, and it's catching everything out of the water for you, as long as you clean it out. Why is it a nitrate factory? All of that stuff would have been in your tank whether you had the canister filter or not. The canister filter is catching it for you, it's putting it in one place for you instead of it being everywhere in the tank. Now, I agree that the maintenance of a canister can be a little bit more than a sump. Not so much maintenance, but the hassle of, if I wanted to change my filter sock, I just open my doors and I take my sock out, put a new one in. If you wanted to clean the filters on your canister, you've got to go through the hassle of turning it off, opening it up, taking everything out, rinsing it. But don't let that put you off. If you genuinely have your heart set on a reef tank, but you can only afford a canister, or you only want a canister, you don't fancy drilling the back of your tank, you don't want to buy a reef ready tank, whatever it may be, then don't let that put you off. Canister filters can work on reef tanks. I've seen them work, I know they can work. And yes, they may require a little bit more hassle when doing maintenance, but it's a possibility, you can do them. And they can create the flow for you. So if you see, I don't know if you can see, just on the left hand side of the screen, you can see the water movement. And what that is it's the outlet of a canister filter. I don't use a canister filter, but I have the water running from my main display into my sump. It's pumped from my sump through a UV behind the display refugium, and then it comes into my refugium. So essentially the sump's acting as the canister. And now you can see the water movement, it's creating the flow inside that tank. So this, depending on the size of the tank and the size of the canister filter, could be adequate. I've seen people use hang-on back filters instead of canisters, so this is another option. So don't let people say to run a reef tank you have to have a sump. You don't. Essentially, a glass box, live rock, and water movement with a heater is all you need. If you really want, you can run it like that. I would recommend a protein skimmer. I mean, again, it's optional. These are all optional extras. You don't have to get a big expensive one. I've got a few. At the minute I'm running a bubble Magnus, which is rated for slightly smaller than this tank, but it's doing a brilliant job. I also have a very big one upstairs that I bought a while ago. It's a cheaper one. I think I paid £60 for that, but it's rated for a lot bigger than this tank. The only problem is I find it creates micro bubbles in the tank, which is why I'm not running that at the minute. But skimmer, if you just wanted a hang on the side skimmer, hang on the back skimmer, they work fine. That's all I'm running in my sump of my tank is a hang on skimmer, and it's just hanging onto the side of my sump. Heater is pretty obvious. You keep in tropical water, well, saltwater fish, but from tropical climates, so the water needs to be at the temperature for them. I definitely recommend a thermometer so you can see the temperature of the water. Otherwise, you're just going off what you think you've set the heater to, which isn't always true. And that's it. If you want to keep corals, again, you'll need a full spectrum light. But please don't be put off by people saying you need to have this, you need to have that, you need to have reactors, you need to have these really expensive return pumps and these really expensive wave makers, and you need to have the random flow generator outlet nozzles on your return pipes, and it's just simply not true. Is reefing cheap? No, I won't lie to you, it's not cheap, depending on how you want to go about it. Corals, they're not, depending on what corals you want. Softies, you can pick up some good deals on softies. As you can see in the middle of the screen, I'm just on the right hand side of my main display, near the yellow tank. Those porcine xenia that I bought them when they were very small, and as you can see, the stuff just takes off, absolutely takes off. So coral wise, start off with smaller corals, you'll pay a little bit less, and once you get everything down, you'll be well away. They'll be growing and spreading in your tank. Auto top offs, again, completely optional. If you feel that you will have the time to top the water off in your display every single day, then don't get one. As simple as that. You can put a little mark on the tank where you know where the water level was, and then simply top it off with RO water every day. The water, you can buy it from the shop, but I do find it cheaper if you buy an RODI system. Now, I bought my RODI system for £60 with all the media from eBay. Brand new, worked for over a year now, and my TDS is still coming out the tap at 0. So obviously the media inside is still very good. For those who don't know, TDS just stands for total dissolved solids. And if you're adding water to a reef tank, you want your TDS to be at 0. If you test your tap water, I know if I test mine, it's very high, almost 1,000 TDS. If you add that to your reef tank, you're gonna have problems. So please don't try and skimp out on the water if you're trying to set up a budget tank, because you will just run into algae issues. The corals won't react well to it, even if you use some sort of dechlorinator or something that says will make tap water safe for a reef tank. Please just save yourself the hassle and the time. Get an RODI system. This is one thing I would definitely recommend. But other than that, you don't need to go wild with a reef tank. Obviously you can go wild, you can spend thousands on skimmers and lights and whatever else you want, but you don't need to. If you're looking at setting up your first reef tank, or you're looking at setting up a budget tank, or maybe you want to set up another tank but you don't want to have the expenses, and you have any questions for me, drop me a question in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you. And for those of you who are starting up your tank, I wish you all the best, happy reefing, and I hope it all goes very well. Thank you for staying with me throughout this long ramble It was supposed to be a nice quick video, but I've ended up rambling on. So thank you very much for that, and happy reefing.